I know exactly how you're feeling right now. That heaviness in your chest, that exhaustion that goes beyond just being physically tired. You woke up today hoping things would be different, but somehow the day just didn't unfold the way you needed it to. Maybe someone said something that hurt you, or perhaps you're carrying disappointments that have been piling up for weeks, months, or even years. Whatever brought you here to this moment, to this video, I want you to know that it wasn't an accident. The universe has a way of guiding us exactly where we need to be, and right now, you need to be here. Before we begin, I need you to do something for me, for yourself, and for everyone else who needs to hear this message. Let's make a commitment together. If we can reach 100 comments on this video, the universe will know that this message is reaching the hearts that need it most. So I'm asking you, once you finish watching, leave a comment. It can be a single word that describes what you're feeling, a thought that came to your mind, or simply share your current situation. Your engagement tells the universe that you're ready to receive what's coming your way. And please subscribe to this channel and watch until the very end, because those who do are remembered first by the platform and by the universe itself. We need to hit this goal to keep bringing you more inspiring stories like this one, and your participation makes all the difference. Now, let me tell you a story that will change everything you thought you knew about bad days. There was someone who lived an ordinary life, the kind of life that most people would describe as unremarkable. This person woke up every morning to the same alarm, followed the same routine, and went to bed every night feeling like something essential was missing. Days blended into weeks, weeks into months, and before long years had passed in this monotonous cycle. But there was one particular day that started worse than all the others. The morning began with spilled coffee on a favorite shirt, the kind of shirt that held sentimental value, a gift from someone who was no longer part of their life. The stain spread across the fabric like a dark omen of what was to come. Running late, they rushed out the door without breakfast, their stomach already churning with anxiety about the day ahead. The commute was unbearable. Traffic seemed designed specifically to test their patience, every red light lasting an eternity, every other driver seemingly conspiring to make them even later. When they finally arrived at work, the boss was waiting with that expression, the one that meant nothing good was about to happen. A mistake had been discovered, something that had slipped through the cracks during a particularly overwhelming week. The consequences weren't devastating, but they were embarrassing. The kind of public correction that makes you feel small and incompetent in front of colleagues. The rest of the workday dragged on with the weight of that humiliation sitting heavy on their shoulders. During lunch break, they checked their phone and discovered a message that shattered what little composure remained. A relationship that had been struggling was now officially over. The words on the screen were cold, final, and somehow worse than if they had been said face to face. There was no room for conversation, no opportunity to explain or understand. Just endings spelled out in digital text that would remain there forever, a permanent record of rejection. They sat in their car, unable to eat, unable to cry, just staring at nothing while the world continued moving around them. The afternoon brought more challenges, small things that normally wouldn't matter, but today felt like the universe was actively working against them. A computer crash that erased hours of work. A co-worker's thoughtless comment that hit too close to an insecurity. The realization that bills were due and the bank account was running dangerously low. Every hour brought a new reminder that this day was falling apart, and there seemed to be no way to stop the descent. By the time they got home, exhaustion had settled into their bones. Not the kind of tiredness that sleep can fix, but the soul-deep weariness that comes from feeling like you're fighting a losing battle against life itself. They collapsed onto the couch, not bothering with dinner, not bothering with anything. The apartment felt emptier than usual, the silence more pronounced, the loneliness more acute. This was the moment when most people would give up on the day completely, write it off as a loss, and hope that tomorrow brings something better. But this is exactly where the universe begins its most important work, because what they didn't know, what none of us know in our darkest moments, is that the universe doesn't give us bad days to punish us. It gives us bad days to redirect us, to break us open so that something new can enter, to clear space for the miracles that are already on their way. As they sat there in the dimming light of evening, something unusual happened. a notification appeared on their phone, something they almost ignored because they had ignored so much already that day. It was a message from an old friend, someone they hadn't heard from in years. The message was simple, almost random. It said that this person had been thinking about them, had a dream about them the night before, and felt compelled to reach out. The message included a memory from years ago, a time when they had helped this friend through a difficult period, words of encouragement that had literally changed the trajectory of that person's life. The friend wanted to say thank you, years late but deeply sincere, and to let them know that the kindness they had shown still echoed forward through time. Reading those words, something shifted. It wasn't dramatic, no sudden revelation or lightning bolt of inspiration, just a small crack in the armor of despair, a tiny window through which light could enter. They responded to the message, and a conversation began to flow, easy and natural, filling the silence of the apartment with a different kind of presence. They talked about the years that had passed, the changes they had both experienced, the struggles and victories that had shaped them, and in that conversation, they heard their own story reflected back through different eyes, saw their own value from a perspective they had lost. This is how the universe works. It doesn't send grand interventions with fanfare and obvious signs. It sends small moments, seemingly coincidental connections, gentle redirections that feel almost random until you look back and see the pattern. That message wasn't an accident. That friend's dream wasn't meaningless. The timing wasn't coincidence. The universe had been working behind the scenes all day, using every setback to position them exactly where they needed to be, in exactly the right emotional state to receive what was coming. Because here's what happens when we're broken open by difficult days. We stop pretending, we stop performing. We become real in a way that we aren't when everything is going well. And in that realness, that raw authenticity, we become available for genuine connection, for truth, for transformation. The conversation with the old friend continued into the evening, and through it, clarity began to emerge. The job that had been so stressful, that had been the source of today's humiliation, was revealed for what it truly was: a mismatch, a place they had outgrown but had been too afraid to leave because of financial security and fear of the unknown. The relationship that had ended with cold texts was shown in a new light. A connection that had been draining them for months, taking more than it gave, keeping them stuck in patterns that didn't serve their highest good. The universe hadn't caused these things to fall apart. It had simply stopped holding together things that needed to break so that better things could form. Every difficult moment of the day was actually the universe clearing obstacles, removing what no longer fit, making space for what was trying to arrive. The friend mentioned something during their conversation, almost as an afterthought. They were looking for someone to join a new project, something creative and meaningful, exactly the kind of work that had always called to this person's heart, but had seemed too impractical to pursue. The pay would be less initially, but the potential was enormous. And more importantly, the work would matter. It would use all the skills and passions that had been gathering dust while they trudged through days at a job that slowly diminished their spirit. The offer was casual, exploratory, but the timing was impossible to ignore. On the worst day they'd had in recent memory, an opportunity appeared that aligned perfectly with dreams they had almost forgotten they were allowed to have. This is the universe speaking, not in vague feelings or wishful thinking, but in concrete opportunities that arrive precisely when we're most ready to recognize them for what they are. But the story doesn't end with just one sign. Because once we start paying attention, once we tune into the frequency of universal guidance, we begin to see that it's everywhere, always has been, speaking to us in countless ways we've been too busy or too closed to notice. That night, unable to sleep because their mind was racing with possibilities, they decided to take a walk. The neighborhood was quiet, the streets empty, and for the first time all day they felt like they could breathe. The night air was cool and clear, and as they walked without direction or purpose, they found themselves in front of a small bookstore they had passed 1,000 times but never entered. Something pulled them inside. The owner was an elderly woman who looked up with surprise and delight at having a customer so late in the evening. They browsed the shelves without knowing what they were looking for, running their fingers along spines of books whose titles blurred together in the dim light. Then one book fell, literally fell from the shelf and landed at their feet, spine up, title facing them. It was a book about taking risks, about leaving security for passion, about trusting the process of transformation even when it terrifies you. They picked it up and opened it randomly, the way you do when you're looking for signs, and the page it fell open to contained a passage that spoke directly to their situation, with such specificity that it felt like it had been written just for them, just for this moment. The passage talked about how the universe orchestrates endings to create new beginnings, how what appears to be loss is often liberation, how the pain of transition is the price of evolution. They bought the book, and the elderly woman wrapped it carefully, looking at them with eyes that seemed to see everything. She said something strange as they were leaving. She said that everyone who comes into her store at night is there because the universe sent them, that the late hours are when the seekers arrive, the ones who are ready for their lives to change. She said she could tell by looking at them that tomorrow would be different, that today had been necessary, and that they should trust what comes next. They walked home with the book clutched to their chest, feeling something they hadn't felt in years. Hope mixed with certainty, fear mixed with excitement, the unmistakable sensation of standing on the edge of something significant. When they got home, they made a decision. They would respond to their friend's offer. They would take the meeting, explore the possibility, and if it felt right, they would make the leap. But more than that, they decided to start paying attention to the signs, to the synchronicities, to the way the universe had been trying to communicate with them all along. They opened the book and began to read, and with each page they understood more clearly that this terrible day had been a gift disguised as a disaster. Every painful moment had been a chisel, carefully carving away what didn't belong so that their true shape could emerge. The spilled coffee that made them late had prevented them from being in a minor accident that happened on their usual route at their usual time. They would learn this later from a news report. The work humiliation had been witnessed by someone who recognized that they were too talented for that position and would reach out with an even better offer in 2 weeks. The relationship that ended had been blocking them from meeting someone who would see and love them for exactly who they are, someone they would encounter within a month in the most unexpected way. This is what I need you to understand as you watch this video, as you sit with whatever pain or disappointment brought you here. Your bad day is not evidence that the universe has abandoned you. It's evidence that the universe is actively working on your behalf, removing obstacles you can't see, redirecting you away from paths that would have led to greater pain, positioning you for opportunities that require you to be exactly where you are right now, in exactly this emotional state, with exactly this level of readiness. The universe doesn't make mistakes. It doesn't randomly distribute suffering. Every challenge carries purpose, even when that purpose is invisible to us in the moment. Your job, the only job you have right now, is to remain open, to watch for the signs, to trust that this day, as terrible as it feels, is part of a larger pattern that will eventually reveal itself as perfect. Let me give you some practical guidance, because I know that spiritual platitudes don't always help when you're in the thick of suffering. If you're struggling financially right now, if the bills feel overwhelming and the bank account looks frightening, I want you to know that financial lack is often the universe's way of forcing us to get creative, to discover resources within ourselves that we didn't know existed. This is not about toxic positivity or pretending that money stress isn't real and difficult. It absolutely is. But consider this perspective. Every person who has ever built something meaningful, who has ever created real wealth as opposed to just earning a paycheck, has gone through a period where they had to function without the security they wanted. That pressure, that discomfort, that necessity became the catalyst for innovation. So instead of just worrying about the lack, start asking different questions. What skills do you have that someone would pay for? What problems do you know how to solve? What could you create or offer that would provide value to others? The universe often creates financial pressure, not to punish us, but to push us out of comfortable mediocrity into our actual potential. Start small. Offer your skills to one person, solve one problem, create one thing. The universe responds to action, to movement, to the demonstration that you're willing to participate in your own rescue. And while you're taking those practical steps, also pay attention to unexpected opportunities. Money often arrives from directions we weren't watching. a refund you forgot about, someone who owes you money suddenly able to pay, a side opportunity that appears out of nowhere. The universe is not limited by your current circumstances or your employer's payroll schedule. It has infinite ways to get resources to you, but you have to be paying attention and you have to be willing to receive from unexpected sources. This means saying yes to opportunities that don't look like what you thought the answer would look like. This means being humble enough to accept help when it's offered. This means trusting that the universe knows more efficient routes to your provision than your conscious mind can calculate. If your struggle today is about relationships, if you're feeling the ache of loneliness or the sting of rejection or the confusion of a connection that's falling apart, the universe is speaking to you through that pain. Here's what I've learned about relationships and universal guidance. The universe will not let you settle for less than you deserve once you've reached a certain level of awakening. This doesn't mean you'll get everything you want exactly when you want it. It means that connections that aren't aligned with your highest good will begin to dissolve, sometimes painfully, sometimes suddenly, always purposefully. If someone left your life today, if someone hurt you today, if someone showed you who they really are today, and it broke your heart, the universe just protected you from a future of greater pain. I know that doesn't make it hurt less right now. I know that doesn't fill the empty space they left. But please trust this. Every ending creates space for a better beginning. Every person who walks away makes room for someone who will stay. Every rejection redirects you toward your actual match. And while you're in this painful in-between space, use it wisely. This is not wasted time, this is preparation time. The universe is refining you, teaching you, strengthening you, so that when the right person arrives, you'll be ready. You'll be whole enough not to need them to complete you, but to want them as an addition to an already fulfilling life. You'll be healed enough not to repeat old patterns, but to create new, healthy dynamics. You'll be clear enough to recognize real love instead of settling for familiar dysfunction. So grieve the loss, feel the pain, but also do the inner work. Go to therapy if you can. Journal your patterns. Identify where you've been giving your power away or accepting less than you deserve. Learn to be complete within yourself. The universe is not keeping love from you. It's keeping the wrong love from you while preparing you for the right love. And that right love is worth the wait, worth the loneliness, worth every tear you're crying right now. Spiritually, if you're feeling disconnected, if your faith is wavering, if you're questioning whether there's any greater meaning, or if you're just stumbling through a random universe that doesn't care about you, I want to address that directly. The fact that you're here watching this video having a bad day that brought you to this exact message is itself proof of connection. Think about the chain of events that had to occur for you to be here right now. This specific combination of algorithms and timing and your own intuitive click that brought you to these words at this moment. That's not randomness, that's orchestration. The universe is made of intelligence, of consciousness that expresses itself through what we call coincidence and synchronicity. When you feel disconnected, it's not because the connection has been severed, it's because your perception has been clouded by pain, or fear, or exhaustion. The connection is always there. Your job is to quiet down enough to feel it again. Here's a practice that will help you reconnect. Tonight, before you sleep, sit in silence for just 5 minutes. No music, no distractions, just you and the quiet. Close your eyes and place your hand over your heart. Feel it beating, that rhythm, that pulse, that life force moving through you without your conscious effort. That's the universe expressing itself as you. You don't make your heart beat. Something greater than your conscious mind handles that. Handles breathing, handles healing, handles the thousands of processes that keep you alive moment by moment. That same intelligence that keeps your heart beating is the intelligence that runs the entire cosmos. It's in you, as you, breathing you, living you, guiding you. In that quiet moment, speak to it, not with fancy words or formal prayers, just honest communication. Tell it what you need. Tell it what you're afraid of. Tell it that you're struggling to trust. And then listen, not for a voice or a dramatic sign, just for a feeling, a sense, a subtle knowing that arises from somewhere deeper than your thinking mind. That's the universe speaking back to you. That's your confirmation that you're not alone, have never been alone, will never be alone. And finally, let's talk about peace. Because peace is what you really need right now, isn't it? Not success or money or perfect relationships, though those things matter. What you need most is the ability to feel okay, even when everything isn't okay. Peace doesn't mean the absence of problems. It means the presence of trust. Trust that you're going to get through this. Trust that the universe has your back. Trust that this difficult chapter is not the whole story. How do you cultivate that kind of peace in the middle of chaos? You start by releasing the illusion of control. So much of your suffering right now comes from the belief that you should be able to control outcomes, control other people, control circumstances. But you can't. None of us can. The only thing you can control is your response, your perspective, your choice about what meaning you assign to events. When you stop exhausting yourself trying to force reality to match your expectations and instead start flowing with what is, peace becomes possible. This doesn't mean being passive or giving up. It means acting from clarity instead of panic, trusting instead of forcing, allowing instead of controlling. Make a list right now of everything you're trying to control that you actually have no control over. Other people's opinions, the timeline of your success. When love will arrive, how quickly things will change. Look at that list and consciously release each item. Say out loud, I release my need to control this. I trust the universe to handle this in perfect timing. You'll feel immediate relief as you set down those impossible burdens. Then make another list of what you actually can control. Your daily habits, your responses to difficulty, the people you spend time with, the content you consume, the thoughts you choose to believe, the actions you take today. Focus your energy here on what's actually within your sphere of influence, and you'll find that you can create change even when you can't control outcomes. The person in our story, the one who had the terrible day that turned out to be the best day in disguise, made all these shifts. They started taking action on the financial opportunity their friend offered. They began doing the inner work needed to be ready for healthy love. They developed a daily practice of connecting with universal intelligence, and they released their grip on how and when things should happen, choosing instead to trust the process. Within 3 months, their entire life looked different. The new career path exceeded their expectations. A relationship began that felt completely different from anything they'd experienced before, built on mutual respect and genuine compatibility instead of need and fear. Their financial situation stabilized and then improved as they stepped more fully into their gifts. But more than any external change, they had peace. The kind of peace that doesn't depend on circumstances, the kind of peace that comes from knowing, truly knowing, that the universe is always working for your highest good even when it doesn't feel that way. Your bad day is your turning point. The pain you feel right now is the universe getting your attention, breaking you open, preparing you for what comes next. Don't waste this moment by rushing past it or numbing it or pretending it doesn't hurt. Feel it fully. Let it change you. Let it teach you. And then watch with amazement as the pieces start to fall into place in ways you could never have orchestrated with your limited human perspective. The universe sees the whole board while you see only the piece you're standing on. Trust that it knows what it's doing. Trust that you're being guided. Trust that this terrible day is actually a gift you'll be grateful for once you can see the whole picture. Every person who has ever achieved something meaningful, who has ever lived a life of purpose and joy, has gone through days like the one you're having right now. The difference between those who transform their lives and those who stay stuck is not that some people have easier paths. It's that some people learn to read the signs, to trust the process, to see difficulties as redirection rather than rejection. You are being redirected right now. Everything that fell apart today fell apart because it needed to. Everything that hurt today hurt because you're growing past what you've known into what you're meant to become. The universe is not punishing you. It's promoting you. But promotions often look like demotions at first. You have to lose the old position before you can step into the new one. You have to release what you're clutching before your hands are free to receive what's coming. So, take a deep breath right now. Feel your body in the chair or bed where you're sitting. Feel the solid earth beneath you. Feel your heart beating, your lungs breathing, the life force moving through you. You're still here. You survived today, and tomorrow you'll wake up to a new set of possibilities. The universe has already arranged the next signs, the next opportunities, the next piece of guidance you need. Your only job is to stay open, to keep watching, to trust that you're being led somewhere better than you could have planned for yourself. Before we end, I want to remind you of our collective goal. We need to reach 100 comments on this video to tell the universe that this message is reaching the people who need it most. So please, take a moment right now and leave a comment. Share what you're feeling. Share what resonated. Share what you needed to hear today. Your comment is not just for me, it's a declaration to the universe that you're ready to receive the guidance that's coming your way. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do that now. Those who subscribe and watch until the end are remembered first by the algorithm and by the universe itself. You'll never miss the content meant for you, and you'll be first in line when new messages arrive. The universe is asking just one thing from you right now: to leave a motivational comment on this video. This simple act tells the universe you're participating, you're engaged, you're ready. Those who watch all the way through are remembered faster on the platform and get ahead. That's why I'm asking you, persuasively and sincerely, to subscribe and watch until the very end. We need to hit this goal to keep bringing you more inspiring stories like this one. And if you want, tell me from which corner of the world you are watching this video. Your comment matters, and I want to read it and respond to you. For more exciting stories like this, click on the video that appears on your screen right now.